Welcome to Ignite to Impact, a weekly podcast that explores what it takes to make your community, our nation, and the world a better place. You've tuned in to be inspired and enlightened as we pull back the curtain and dive into intimate and energetic conversations with achievers and doers. We are talking with leaders who are in the trenches making phenomenal changes through business, nonprofits, education, and the arts. Our goal? To encourage, motivate, and challenge you to go to the next level in leadership. Now, here's your host, Master Leadership Strategist, Dr. Geneva Williams. So, let's ignite to impact.
Hi there, this is Dr. Geneva, and welcome once again. I'm so pleased that you're with us. Ignite to Impact. You know, where we have those conversations about making the world a better place. So every week, we bring you inspiring stories from people from all walks of life. They could be entrepreneurs, teachers, nonprofit executives, artists, business folk, everyday folk, unleashing their leadership, solving problems in their community, creating change, and leaving impact, whether they're fighting hunger or finding ways to end homelessness, helping children learn to read, working to eliminate poverty, working on education, race relations, transportation, crime. We are traveling around the country, learning what real leaders do day to day, how they ignite collaboration, and how they turn those bad situations around and stay excited about their own journey in leadership. And we'll discover how these leaders build legacy to create everlasting impact. I'm so delighted to be with you today. I've just come back from a worldwide trip to Paris and London, and I'm going to tell you all about it. And I had a chance to meet with leaders from around the world who were trying to figure out how they could collaborate and work better together. And you know what the major conversation was that they were having? They were talking about how do we reach back? How do we pull particularly millennials into the kind of work we're doing, and how do we teach and inspire? And so you know that's right up our alley. So I'm going to have the president of the organization, the conference that I was at, come and visit with us shortly. But guess what? I'm going to bring you something better than that today. I'm bringing you Andrew Morrison, and he's one of Mentoring in Medicine's original visionaries. He has used his 25 years of award-winning marketing skills to assist others and young people with strategic planning, fund development, outreach, and new programs. And he's credited with creating Morgan's Big Biology Test. Now, that's a hip-hop science stage play, a virtual summer science camp. And, you know, we're going to hear much more about that. Doesn't that sound exciting? But he's an accomplished entrepreneur who has built several multi-million-dollar revenue businesses in the area of marketing, design, and training. But he's focusing a lot of his work now on young people. He's the recipient of the prestigious Young Direct Marketer of the Year award and serves as deacon at the Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem. He's married and a proud parent of a teenage daughter, and I am just so delighted. From New York, Harlem, one of my favorite places to be. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you for what you do, because I feel inspired already. I feel ignited. I'm ready to go.
All right. We love to hear that. So tell our listening audience about you. Tell us about Andrew.
Well, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
I came to Brooklyn, New York when I was 4 years old. I tell people my Jamaican accent comes back when I get angry, which is once every 5 years. I think anger is a useless emotion, but I've learned how to manage my emotions. I grew up in New York City, had a chance to go to Bronx High School of Science, a very prestigious high school in New York. Went to RPI, studied electrical engineering, minor in biomedical engineering, and ever since then I've been an entrepreneur. And so I haven't looked back, and as I've been able to grow, I've been able to reach back as well, help others.
Oh, just wonderful. So what got you into engineering? Was there something that happened in your life that inspired you or kind of said, hey, this is the way to go?
Well, that's a great question because, many young people tend to be kind of pigeonholed into certain categories based upon their skills. So I was good in math and science, so everyone said pursue engineering. Many young people never asked the question why, because we're really looking to our elders when it comes to direction and advice. At the same time, I was really good at solving problems. People in high school called me Dear Abby. In college, they called me a pill. I said, why do you call me a pill? You give us advice that's hard to swallow, but it tends to be good for us.
Oh, I like that. A pill.
A pill, yeah. I was called a pill.
All right.
And so at an early age, I was really good at inspiring, encouraging, and motivating people. And some people said, well, Andrew, maybe you should become a social worker. I said, not to knock social worker, but I want to make a little bit more money than that, all right? And so I became an entrepreneur. So I tell people that your calling, your passion, your unique gifts will always show up in whatever job you end up pursuing. So now I get a chance to combine my scientific, my analytical skills when it comes to engineering, and also my people skills when it comes to inspiring others as well.
Yes. So now, Andrew, if you had to do it over again, would you have gone into a field, knowing what you know now,
right?
Would you have gone into a field other than engineering?
Oh, yes. I tell people that engineers, we can stay up all night, read 5 books, and become an expert in any topic. And so my reading skills are still fairly strong because of that engineering background. Now, I don't live my life with any regrets, but I remember in college, people often encouraged me to pursue law. But back then, I thought having a law degree was like working in a courtroom and not realizing that business, law is the language of business. And so looking back, I maybe would have taken more law classes because even to this day, people think I'm a lawyer because of the way I can kind of structure deals.
Okay. All right. Well, that's so exciting. And, I think you're right. I think we want to help young people find their way, and so we're often saying to them, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And that's because that's what our parents were asking us and their parents asked them and so forth and so on. But I really do agree that you kind of need to find your way. But, it seemed like you kind of found some good direction early on.
Well, I'm so excited about mentoring and also with mentoring in medicine because when I was a college freshman, a powerful question was asked to me by a senior. It was a mentoring program at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And the senior said to me, Andrew, what do you want to get out of your college experience? And that was a fascinating question. And I said to him, you know what? The one thing I'd love to get out of this 4 years in college is to get rid of my stammering problem. So when I was young, I had a very bad stuttering problem. I was very shy, very withdrawn. I tell people I wasn't always this handsome. I didn't have a girlfriend in high school. I didn't go to the prom. And so then I became big man on campus by becoming the first African American to be elected the president of the student union. And so that one experience really changed me on the inside. But what's fascinating was that after I became the first African American president of the student union, 3 other blacks did the exact same thing within the next 10 years. And so I really help people to realize that many of these barriers are actually mental. As you begin to see other people do it, you can achieve your own greatness as well.
So you were the first, but not the last.
Exactly.
And I think that is so important for leaders of today. You hear people say, well, I was the first this or the first that, and that's great.
Who's the next?
But it is about, who's coming after you. And so speaking of who's coming after you, you took a lot of the engineering that you learned and your skills, and you work with young people. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's really because I had a pretty difficult upbringing. I was a gifted child that was misunderstood. I was this kid who scored so well academically that teachers thought I was cheating. I was also this child that, I'll be quite frank, back then, other kids used to tease me by saying you're not black, and so I really had this issue.
Now was that because you were so smart?
Yeah. And so I got to tell you, when I was in middle school, I thought I was gray. All right, and
you thought you were gray.
I thought I was gray because everyone was telling me I'm not black. I know I'm not white, and so I thought maybe I'm gray. I'm
so you
somewhere
were a
in the
mixture
middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
Right. And so I want to reach back to those gifted children out there, and I think all children are actually gifted. We just need to recognize their gifts and give them some challenging opportunities. opportunities. And so my work in Young CEO Camp, my work in mentoring and medicine I've been doing over the years, it's really proof positive that if an adult who cares, who has the insight, can see a young person's potential and possibilities, and you give them an assignment. And see, people say, how do you solve the problems in the city? It's very simple. I used to run with gangs. We need something to do. If you give us something positive to do, we'll have something new to do and something more constructive to do.
Mm-hmm. And so let's get into this a little deeper. So mentoring in medicine. So tell us what all that's about.
Sure. So mentoring in medicine is really about dealing with the shortage of healthcare professionals who come from low-income backgrounds and also minority backgrounds. I think the most fascinating statistic is the fact that 90% of all physicians come from the top 10% of all households in terms of income. And so in mentoring in medicine, we're trying to break those barriers down by giving young kids exposure. We try to have a pipeline from middle school all the way to medical school.
Okay.
And so we've been doing it for the past 10 years and already have helped nearly 500 young people become physicians. Okay,
so, Andrew, I want to unpack that statistic again. So let's roll it back a bit. Tell me again about this 90% in the household. Break that down.
Right.
For me.
And so there's a whole notion of wealth begets wealth.
Okay.
In that 90% of all doctors, and most doctors are making at least $200,000 a year in income.
That's right.
They come from households that made $200,000 a year in income.
I see. Okay. All right.
And so what we try to specialize in is low-income households.
Okay.
Every student who's worked with us, the system has told them no. You never become a doctor. They've even failed, say, organic chemistry. And we kind of really help them take it again. We really help to build them up on the inside when it comes to their own sense of self-esteem, their sense of grit, their sense of self-reliance. And by doing so, now they can see it's possible for them not only succeed academically, but also long-term in life.
Okay. So what's behind the statistic? Tell me if I'm understanding you and going down the track you've laid out. What's behind the statistic is that if you come from a family that has wealth and means, that automatically means opportunity and exposure.
Yes.
And so that's part of your lifestyle, that's part of your culture. So you get exposed to certain things, you go certain places, you have opportunities to learn and go to the best schools and all of that. Is that what's behind this wealth begets wealth?
It's even more fundamental to conversations in a household.
Okay.
Like I tell parents, stop talking to your baby with this Google gaga gaga gaga. Talk to your baby as if he or she's an adult, becoming an adult, because these words have tremendous power. And they've even done studies that say that low-income children hear less words by the time they're 3 or 4 years old than wealthier children. All right. And so there's big word deficiency. And so I really encourage parents to start to read the newspaper to their children, start to analyze what's on the news, because their mind is growing very rapidly and they're processing all these new words and they're making different connections based upon these new words. And so by us closing this word gap, and now is the summertime, also summer gap as well, that many minority kids are actually on par with their peers during the academic year, but they tend to regress during the summer. Why? Because now there's summer activities to stimulate their learning.
Absolutely. And I think that probably goes across the board whenever you have that gap, that 2 months, 1 month of fun in the sun.
Right.
Young people, you need to replenish it with learning, and that's why so often we look at the most favorable youth development programs have continue year round. They have some activities for young people during the summer months, the downtime when they're not in classrooms. So the mentoring in medicine. So how do you do this? So you target young people who come from low income neighborhoods, and then what? What do you do?
Well, the first thing we like to do is to do what we call our in-school field trip, where here's what's fascinating. Like many students who are low performing, it's really because the educational system has not been recognizing their unique learning style. And so the way we teach is project-based. We appeal to the kinesthetic learner. And so as a result, that student who's a C student will outperform an A student in our programs. Why? Because it's hands-on. Why? Because they get a chance to showcase various leadership skills. And so we have them dissecting chicken legs to learn about the musculoskeletal system. We have them dissecting chicken wings to get a chance to take a look at a cow's eyeballs, sheep's hearts.
And how do they react to that?
They go crazy.
What do they do?
I mean, they have an incredible time. They can't stop because now they go from simply learning in a classroom to learning in a way that feels more natural to them.
What we call experiential learning. So they're actually experiencing it and into it. And so what are the ages of the young people?
We start from elementary school all the way up to college. Yeah, we have an Mcat boot camp program.
Okay, what's Mcat?
Yeah, so the Mcat is a medical admissions competency test.
Okay.
And so if you want to go to medical school, you want to score very well on the Mcat. Okay. And oftentimes many low-income students don't do well on the Mcat. So we have a 20-week Saturday program where we prepare young people to take the Mcat. And what's phenomenal is the fact that 90% of the kids who go through our 20-week program actually get into medical school.
90%?
90% who go through our program, who take the Mcat, because we do more than Mcat prep. We also do interview skills. We help them write their own personal essays. We show them how to dress as well. And
why do you do that? Why do you do all of that? Why not just help them, pass the test?
Because they really need a holistic approach. I tell people that true wisdom actually occurs at the dinner table. And if you don't have that dinner table conversation where you have a parent who's a doctor, a parent who's an entrepreneur, you'll miss out on certain key distinctions when it comes to success. And so we approach this from a very holistic fashion and really help students from soup to nuts deal with the various issues that they'll face when it comes to becoming a physician.
Okay, so you try to recreate those scenarios that you talked about a little earlier in terms of what happens in wealthy families where there's dinner conversation as well as I assume a whole bunch of other things that occur, but conversations about the life that physicians might lead or the opportunities and all those kinds of things. You try to recreate that for these young people?
Exactly. And professionalism is critical. I can't tell you how many people have Gmail addresses or email addresses that are inappropriate. killerdoc at yahoo.com. hotmama@gmail.com. All those things are inappropriate.
And now that won't work if you want to be a physician.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And so this recreating this dinner time conversation.
We're a family.
Let's put. Yeah. How do you do that? How does that happen?
Yeah.
If I were a young person,
right?
Okay, and I'm assuming this is for boys and girls.
Yes.
So I'm a young person. I'm a 12-year-old. Right. 12-year-old young girl. I come into your program. Tell me what happens.
Well, the first thing we do is we create a safe space where we let them know that every question you have is the right question. We help them realize that they're not alone. Also, they get to hear from people who came from similar economic backgrounds. So we have physicians who will hold up their EBT cards. Physicians will say, I'm from the projects, I'm from that neighborhood. And once they see people who look like them, who achieve high levels of success, they say, wow, it's possible. Okay. And so by them having that safe space, they can begin to open up and start to share some of the issues and challenges that they're facing. Oftentimes, they may have a home life that's not supportive of their academic success. And so we also do parent training as well to really help the parents understand that your child needs to spend 4 to 6 hours every night studying. Okay. And so the whole notion of chores and responsibilities, you really can't put on that child because they really have to devote this time to academic pursuits.
So you deal not only with the young people, but also their parents or their guardians, the significant adults in their life.
Exactly. Our research have shown that that's the number one influencer in a young person's long-term career decisions is their parents. And we really try to bring the parents in, help them understand the journey. Many parents say, I can't afford the cost of medical school. It's okay. There are many loans out there. Young people that say, I can't afford the loans. Trust me, when you become a doctor, you'll be able to repay all those loans. So we really help to kind of address some of those unanswered questions.
Mm-hmm. If you're just joining us on Ignite to Impact, I'm just so delighted. We're with Andrew Morrison, Chief Operating Officer, Mentoring in Medicine, and he's one of the original visionaries of this phenomenal program where 90% of the young people who go through the program pass the entrance test to get accepted into medical school.
Right, exactly.
I mean, that by itself is a phenomenal statistic. So, Andrew, tell us, why are you doing this? Why do you do this?
It's really a calling. You do things like this, probably just like yourself, almost in spite of yourself. And sometimes people may look at me and think I am self-motivated. I'm not. There's something higher. There's something greater. And I tell people that we all need to simply empty ourselves and allow ourselves to be used. This way the work isn't coming from you, because if it's coming from you, you'll burn out. You want a lot of work to come through you. And so we want to be vessels of the divine, of things greater than us, because that's how you go from simply success to significance. That's how you go toward leaving a legacy. And if you look at life that way, if you're looking to be used, then you'll never really tire out.
Mm-hmm. So if you were to give advice to others to get into this kind of making a difference, because you're a successful business person, you're a successful entrepreneur,
right?
And you've achieved milestones in your professional and business career. If you were to give some advice to others who are looking for ways to do what you do, to volunteer, to make a difference in young people's lives, in their communities, in their neighborhoods, what would be the one thing that you think would make the biggest difference in their opportunity to give back?
Yeah, I would say don't focus on your project. Many people come to me with a project, an idea. Focus on the problem. You want to get lost. You're right. So basically, you want to get lost in the problem. You want to find somebody that has a big problem, and find somebody that has lots of money. Find a school district, find a government agency, find an organization. Find a church. By you finding a city that has a big problem, and if you come in to be a solution to that problem, you'll never be at a loss for a chance to serve. So many people start with their project, their business, when to me, even though people look at me as a business expert, I no longer know what that word actually means. I understand projects. I understand problems. And the bigger the problem, the more money you'll make and the more impact you'll have as well. So focus on problems. Get lost in your clients' problems. Attend your clients' conferences, their trade shows, read their magazines, understand their language. And by you positioning yourself as an expert, by you writing a book, I also help people write books. And so right now, to me, the book is a new business card. And the book can really brand you as an expert, and people will pay you money. And when someone says, why should we pay you more money? Because you're the expert, because you've written a book.
And so how do you, so again, focus on the problem. Right. And so when you translate that into working with young people, like the work you do in mentoring in medicine, for you, the problem would be that there are not enough people of color in the field of medicine. Right. So that's the problem you're focusing on. Right. And then you'll find lots of different ways to solve that. Is that what you're saying? Right. And
so that's probably the outcome that will impact it. There's a great concept called logic models. And I would love for your listeners to Google those words, logic models. Yes. Because you have the outcome is the fact that we would like to increase the number of underrepresented minorities in the health professions. But the real problem, and many people can kind of debate what the problem is. The real problem goes to self-esteem. The real problem goes to what they call self-efficacy. Can I really do this? And that's the real issue that we address. And that's why we're so successful, is that it's not simply about giving somebody more textbooks or giving them a better academic tutor. It's really giving them the sense that they can really do it. So people don't reach their goals for a very simple reason. They don't reach their goals because they really don't believe they can reach their goals. So once you really, really believe you can reach your goal, then you become unstoppable.
I see. And so you use what you've learned. You've used what you've learned from your business world and how you coach and train others and help them with their marketing skills, etc. You use that to work with these young people in helping them realize their ability to achieve as well.
Exactly. You have to start where your customer is. And so when I go into a classroom, the first thing I start doing is a Millie Rock. I can do a mean Millie Rock, and all the kids start laughing and going crazy because I'm dancing, with them. I start playing, Kendrick Lamar, sit down, be humble. And so by you bringing hip hop, and this is why I created this hip hop stage play, that's the language of our youth. And so by we doing hip hop science raps as well, and kids having a chance to do poems and skits, things like that, it becomes a lot more fun and also more memorable as well.
And that's what that Morgan's Big Biology Test is, that hip hop. Tell us about that. As I know we only have a few more moments, but I'd love for you to share with our audience, give them a real sense of what Morgan's Big Biology Test is.
Sure. And so we teach both the anatomy and the physiology of the cardiovascular system by transforming the audience into chambers of the heart. And so the young people are now throwing red balls to represent oxygenated blood. They're throwing blue balls to represent deoxygenated blood. And every chamber, every section of the auditorium represents a chamber. The middle represents the lung. And so kids actually get to see both the structure and the function of the heart. We've had medical students who say, oh my gosh, Andrew, I learned about the right atrium, the left ventricle, all this medical terms better in your play, not learned in medical school.
And so how does hip hop play into this?
Because it's the music, and so Morgan's the lead character, and she likes to dance, but hates to study for her biology test, and so she's dancing, making up, all this distraction. That's how we add music to it.
Oh, and so Morgan is a character you've created.
Yes.
Okay, and is this an actual person who plays that role?
Yes.
Or do you play?
We've had actors all across the country play the role.
Really?
But Morgan is named my daughter as well.
Okay. So you created this.
Yes.
So you created after your daughter this Morgan. So can you give us a taste of it? So what would Morgan, if Morgan was here with us and we had a whole audience of folk, what would Morgan say?
Morgan would say, listen, I want to hear some hip hop music. I don't want to study for this biology test. I want to eat some junk food. And she's eating all this junk food. Then she goes to sleep, has a bad tummy ache. Her heart wakes up and says, girl, what are you doing eating all this junk food? You've got me, heart palpitations a whole bit. Got to study for this test. And the heart then leads her in studying for the test. And then when it comes back, she aces the test. And her teacher, who thought she wouldn't score well on the test, now has to dance with Morgan in the closing scene.
Oh, fantastic. That must be so much fun. I know the young people love that.
They love it.
And so you put the music on.
Put the music on. All you have to do is get the music going.
And you get them going. Yeah. Andrew, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so your program is in Harlem? Is it across the country?
Yeah, it's actually across the world. I mean, we've done work in Hawaii. We've done work with Native Americans in Alaska. We've done work in Florida. We've done work in Grenada. We've been to Jamaica, Nigeria, Botswana.
Andrew, I just can't tell you how awesome it's been to have you here with us, sharing about your phenomenal program, your worldwide program that encourages, inspires, and breaks down those barriers for young people of color to get into the field of medicine, all through some creative things where you meet the young people where they are. Those principles you learned in business about meeting the customer where they are, meeting young people where they are, and for your vision of Morgan's Big Biology Test, this hip-hop science stage play. It's just so creative and just really reaches and touches young people. Thank you for bringing all of this from Harlem New York, and Abyssinia Baptist Church, and Reverend Butts and his wonderful family of parishioners.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for igniting me as well.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Ignite to Impact. Your host is Dr. Geneva Williams, who is an award-winning executive, facilitator, and master leadership strategist. Dr. Geneva is dedicated to inspiring others to get their leadership on and equipping the next generation with leadership tools and tips to help make the world a better place. Sign up to download Dr. Geneva's mini ebook on leadership. Get the show notes, links, and other resources at drgenevaspeaks.com. That's drgenevaspeaks.com. Thanks for listening. Please share the podcast to those in your community via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Google+, and leave us a 5-star review in iTunes. When you do that, it helps others find the podcast easier. Send your questions or comments to info@drgenevaspeaks.com.